Okay. I go first? Or do you want to go first? Hey everyone. My name is Amandeep. Welcome to the Salus webinar. And we're super excited to have you guys here.
I'm Gabe Guetta. Pleasure to be here. Looking forward to chatting.
Definitely. I'm looking forward to sharing our experiences, real life, history, as well as talking about digital safety, right?
Absolutely. You got to stick around. It's going to be a little bit different than other webinars you've experienced. We're going to go dig back into the past, talk about our experiences in construction and what brought us into digital safety.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, I didn't even own a laptop 5 years ago. Find out why and how I got to be the CEO of a software company. And then when you're done, but before that, before we even start watching it, go to the download section, booth 8. There's the webinars in there. We got pop-ups, stuff like that.
Hot links.
Hot links.
Yeah.
Hot links, I like that word. And after the webinar's done, come check us out in our booth as well. We got demos of our product, live demos. We got safety professionals. You can talk to one of our account executives and ask any questions you want. There's prizes, there's lots of fun stuff. And we'll be there as well if you want to bug us and tell us about how good or bad our video was. Come on down.
That's awesome. Right, okay.
See ya.
See ya. This time it's a webinar.
This time we have to pay attention because it's a webinar. We can't just go on crazy tangents. But we will still go a little bit and then come back.
That's implying we weren't paying attention with our podcast.
Well, we're paying attention-ish, but this time it's your job to keep us on that line. I'm going to keep running off, and you keep pulling us back in.
Hey, sounds like a game plan. Let's do it.
It's crazy. Right? But, I mean, in light of the webinar here, it's all about digital safety.
Yeah.
But where was digital safety when we first started in the industry, hey?
I don't know about you, but I remember having the triplicates, like the carbons.
Yeah.
And then you had to like press so hard because you had to write through like 3 pages.
That was oil and gas?
That was Dad's trucking company.
Oh, Dad's trucking.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. For me, when we first started, I'd love to say there was paperwork. 0. Like we had a safety manual in our job box. It was made up from 8 different companies, safe work practices,
collecting dust,
still with their logos on it. Concrete company, electrical company. We were installing windows, so
coffee stains.
Yeah, it was there, but I mean, it was all about personal protective equipment back then.
Yeah.
But then the shift to more field level compliance per due diligence. Won't get paid unless you can provide documentation and all the rest that goes with it. And but for me, I mean, at that time, digital didn't even come into mind. I mean, we had no real way of doing that. So it was a different time in many different ways, but
it took time, but we're getting there.
We're getting there. I think a lot's changed.
Yeah.
I mean, safety is now the new normal.
Definitely.
Back then, safety was in the mindset.
Yeah.
But it was more of an afterthought. Well, I wouldn't say it was an afterthought. It was not the highest priority. At least I didn't feel like it was when I started in the industry.
And there wasn't conversations around like safety culture. And there's concepts nowadays that were never even spoke about or people never really thought about it. It was an afterthought almost.
Yeah. I feel like companies now,
yeah,
it's at the forefront of their business. You
Absolutely.
go to companies' websites, it's right there, front and center.
True.
I think part of that is the ecosystem shifting. I mean, COVID had something to do with that as well. But I feel like as a community, as a society, we're paying more attention.
Definitely. There's more awareness around it.
Yeah.
Whereas with before, those conversations weren't had. Nowadays, they're at the forefronts. They're at the brinks. I think even with like a newer, younger workforce coming in.
Yeah, that's a good point.
What our dads experienced and went through, our kids aren't going to experience the same thing if they go into the trades.
Yeah, I think there's more involvement from that level as well. Like my parents knew that we were in construction, or I was going into construction, but they didn't really ever ask me about safety policies or didn't check up on the company that I was working with to see if they even had anything. And I know for a fact, I have 2 kids now, younger. When they get into whatever trade or career they go to, I'm going to definitely be involved in understanding where they're going, because I know what I experienced, and I know how dangerous some of the situations I was in with no training, nothing. And it's interesting. But I mean, technology changes that now as well. So now safety's there. And I'd love to chat about, like, why is digital a thing now? Why is it, I mean, we have that, okay, safety is now forefront, field level compliance is happening. I'd love to talk about, especially in this webinar, the transformation, but why is the need there? I mean, we shifted to paper. Paper was there, you have compliance, but why go digital?
I think there's like several things that come into play. So we never had the technology before. Mm-hmm. We never had that eagerness to learn. We never had that knowledge piece. Whereas with nowadays, we do have the tools. We have everything in place in order to work safely.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. And I think that, I mean, some of the things that I struggled with when we were trying to roll out even our paperwork, our paper program, which came first for us, was we started to, the connection between the field and the office was far apart to start with. And then when we started to introduce safety and that compliance aspect, it started to get actually further apart rather than closer together. Some of the disconnects around just being able to get safety officers who used to be in the field coaching and training now are handling paperwork, trying to worry about filing it, getting it back to the office, where's the paperwork, did they sign it? And just that communication between the field and the office started to go farther apart because there's more of an administrative burden that was put on their shoulders.
Oh yeah, there was definitely a huge disconnect. So, and I still see that a lot of times nowadays, like even, for example, we'll talk about the trucking industry. There's a world of difference between ones where it's real time, it's connected, it's here, it's now, versus the paperwork, trying to get all your drivers on board, collecting all of that, getting all of that in, and then you do the billing, the invoicing, etc. And then looking at the safety part, having those hazard assessments and having those pre-trip inspections. Okay, so how are you going to get a hold of all of that paperwork? It would just make more sense being digital, because then it's instant, it's here, it's real time, it's now. And there's that connection. Everybody is on the same page.
I agree. I think that when we thought about the biggest thing that affected us as a company was paper wasn't real time. You weren't able to communicate change properly. You want to change a document, you want to update a form, it could take you weeks to get that out. And then once it's out, you don't know if that's the final copy, because I don't know how many times I went to a job site, looked at a form that was being done, and that form was from 3 years ago, and we just updated that change a week ago. And something like that it's not only frustrating, but it's a little dangerous for your business. I always felt as a partner in that business in construction that we were liable. I was liable.
Yeah,
as
absolutely.
An owner, right?
It's curbing that behavior and getting everybody on board. Change management, it's huge. There's so many working pieces and moving pieces, and then again trying to get everybody on the same page. Yeah,
I agree. And I feel like when we first started, there wasn't really when I say we first started, when I was in construction, we first started adopting field level compliance and the paperwork. I don't think there was a choice between going paper or digital. That adoption factor for me 7 years ago, there was no way I was going to roll out a digital platform to the field. They didn't know how to use computers. There was no smartphones. I mean, they were just coming into the industry, but everyone had mic phones, the tough phones, the ones you could drop from the 10th floor and they'd land in a pile of concrete. That concrete would set, you'd chip it up, and the phone would still work. Right? But that was it. And you put a computer in front of myself even back then, I'd be like, no, thank you, can't navigate that, give me a hammer drill, I'm good with that, I can't do that. But the evolution of the smartphone. I mean, now 99% of the industry has smartphones, and everyone knows how to navigate through a smartphone.
Exactly. We've come a long ways from those I don't know if you guys remember those big brick phones.
Yeah. My dad had one of those.
Yeah, same here. My dad too.
Yeah, those were tough. And you always had cell service with those.
Yeah.
Always. You never lost cell service. But it's come a long way. And I think it broke through the industry in a way where they put the barrier down around technology. It's no longer, no, I can't do that. I'm a tradesman or woman. I'm going to work with my tools and I work with my hands. I'm not tech savvy. That's not what I am. They might, like a 65-year-old carpenter might be using a smartphone to FaceTime their grandkids. It's not work related, but they know how to navigate through it. And when that happens, also you have a conduit to the field. So now you have the opportunity to start communicating that change because they're adopting technology at a field level. And so that's huge. That's absolutely huge to be able to get that real-time information out to everyone in the field right away. And it starts to allow you to start to centralize your safety.
Absolutely, definitely. Even with adoption as well, like you just said it right there, a grandparent FaceTiming their grandchild.
Yeah.
Right? Everybody knows how to use tech for the most part nowadays. Everybody from kids right up until that age.
Yep.
And it's only getting easier, and I think it's like a behavior or habit. Like you have the tool, now you're learning how to use it.
Yep. And kids coming into, or younger generation.
Yeah.
Not kids necessarily, but the younger generation, the next generation coming into the construction industry is more comfortable on a smartphone than they are writing with a pen and paper. And that's just reality. It's shifting. And then so once you get that technology into the hands of the workers, like I said, it starts to centralize your safety. Once you have that platform, all of a sudden the balls in the air start to come together. Because I don't know if you felt this way, and I wasn't in the safety seat. Yeah. I was at the more executive level trying to help enforce and implement safety for the very first time in our company. We had about 100 employees. I felt like it was more around not one thing or another. It was before, we had to do certificate management on an Excel spreadsheet. That was okay. It was manageable.
Did you find everything was like fragmented then?
It started to become fragmented.
Yeah.
Before, 7 years ago, like I said, there was personal protective equipment, make sure it didn't expire, certificates, make sure it doesn't expire. Then all of a sudden, more and more regulations start coming into place. More and more of our customers are requiring documentation and proof of compliance. And so all of a sudden you start adding certificate management, form like compliance. Are they completing forms? Do you have the right safety manual? Is that site specific fall plans, all the incident management, all the rest of that type of stuff, and not to mention everything I'm not talking about right now, asset management, everything else.
Sounds like a lot of gaps, and
it's overwhelming.
It totally is, and lots of room for error.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you were a safety professional for years. What was the main feeling that you felt, whether you were partly digital, fully digital, for digital, what was the feeling you felt as a safety officer trying to manage your world?
It's overwhelming. It is absolutely frustrating, and trying to manage the whole entity of the safety management system. So now you're taking the system and then you factor in humans into the system, and there is so much room for errors or even mistakes, or even simple things like not getting all your paperwork in on time, or not documenting certain things, or forgetting things. Like how do you work around that, right?
Yeah, I agree. I think that it's the more and more people that we talk to, coming from my Salus experience now, I have the opportunity to talk to so many safety officers, so many executives. And I think the main thing that's coming across is whether we're digital or paper-based or a hybrid in between, we're overwhelmed.
Yeah.
Even if we have a safety software, we can't run all of our safety in that software. Some things have to be out of it, because let's keep in mind, like safety softwares like us, we're at the beginning of this frontier. Yeah, there's softwares that are older and stuff like that, but they focus predominantly before on risk management, incident management, and stuff like that. Safety's changed. And so it's a very exciting time to kind of get ahead of that. And what we feel like right now is the industry is pushing us into innovation, but we're starting to come around the corner where we're going to start to pull the industry into innovation with different ways of doing things. And it's a really exciting time. But that's me going on a tangent again. You were supposed to bring me back in, and I just.
But I loved it, though. I loved it.
Like, where is he going with this?
Like, we're talking about digital compliance, but no, I love that because there's so many different pieces with that, right?
Yeah.
You know, you factor in the education and that knowledge, and now you're teaching adults, and you're talking about like thought leadership is what you were going down. You were going down that path. I'm like, I know where he's headed.
Yeah, well, you've heard me go on my tangents enough. But back to centralized safety. So
yes,
one of the things that I always found was the accessibility for my team when I, again, putting the construction hat on. We're expecting them to comply with everything that we need them to do in this 500-page manual. Well, how many workers have the ability to keep a 500-page manual on them?
Yeah, agree.
One thing is to have the forms. Even that's tough to always have forms on you when you need them. If you're up 5 floors or you're across the site or you've just done you're at a service call and everything's in your vehicle, are you really going to go back and get it? Most of the time they don't. And to add to that, I find new and young workers, you're getting trained. That's overwhelming. You're in a new industry. That's overwhelming. You're supposed to remember all these safe work practices, procedures, forms. That's overwhelming. How often are they going to stop their foreman or the person they're working with and say, you know what, I don't remember this safe work procedure. Can I go back down to the job box 5 floors down, dig it up, look at it, refresh myself, and then start working?
Absolutely.
Almost zero.
Yeah, exactly.
But when you go digital, all of a sudden, everything's right there.
Yeah, totally. It reduces that risk, any sort of room for confusion, inaccuracies. And yeah, speaking to that example, that it's perfect. It's right there.
Accessible.
Real time, it's accessible, it's meaningful, it's relevant, applicable. So all of that.
Yeah, I think it's huge. And what I found is also being able to mix some of that up. Like, allow them to have a video in there.
Yes.
Safe work procedure that's not just written out. It's an actual video hybrid.
Yeah.
Allowing them to have more dynamic training.
Definitely. Actually, we just spoke about that, I think, a few days ago. In terms of, having something that's dynamic, having different mediums. I mean, different learners, different people learn in different ways. And now we're talking about adults learning things. So having those pictures, those videos, it's not just text and words anymore. There's a lot of people that are visual learners, for example.
I agree. And then once they have that accessibility, you have a platform to get them the content they need when they need it.
Yeah.
You can actually...
Real time.
You can start to get visibility into your system. Before, it was always a reactive process. Even so, the company that I was with before, the window installation company, we had all the heart in the world to try and change. That's a big culture shift, though. A company that's never done safety, shifting into full adoption, full compliance.
That's huge.
It felt like overnight. A lot of pushback, but we got there. And as a result, the reward was hundreds of forms that we had to collect on a daily, weekly basis. And it was a reactive process from that point forward, because by the time we got it back to the office and our safety officer had time to review it and file it, it could have been 3 weeks later if we were lucky. Now, try coaching a new worker or anyone on a form or something that you feel like could use improvement from something they did 3 weeks ago, right? It's like...
It's the thought's gone.
Exactly. Exactly. And so when you start to shift to a digital platform, you actually start to get that, again, they have that real-time information to access what they need. You have the real-time information to monitor what they're doing.
Absolutely.
And it can start to shift from feeling for the worker like a big brother aspect looking over them and more of a coaching opportunity, because you have the opportunity to pull up a form, see that they're working on it, and say, hey, just give them a call. I noticed you just filled this out. Everything's great, but I would try doing this, or I want to better understand your controls that you implemented for these hazards. And then all of a sudden it starts shifting back from, when I had mentioned earlier, safety officers that used to be in the field, mentoring, coaching, shifting to administrators, which is not what they went to school for.
Yeah.
Now giving them the ability to go back to coaching, but at a heightened level and a broader net to catch more issues.
Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't have said it better myself.
I was rambling again.
You're doing good.
Rambling. But
like what you're saying is essentially it closes that loop. So basically it goes from the person that's using it to the safety, management, supervision, whoever it may be, and it's getting everybody in. So everybody's within that ecosystem. It's
pulling people together.
Exactly, yeah. And there's so many positives to take away from it. Like you were talking about accelerated responses as well, right?
Absolutely.
So having that, given that opportunity to like coach and mentor, and it's all happening now, not a month from now, it's happening right now. And it betters the system, and it makes individuals in that collective more prone to be safe. Or educating
and proactive.
them. Yeah, exactly. And giving them that knowledge piece, that training, that orientation, it's crucial. It's huge.
I agree. And I think some of the stuff that when I talked about us struggling with our safety program prior to even starting Salus, it was a struggle. It felt like we were drowning. It felt like we were treading water, 4 feet underwater.
Yeah.
And I felt like it was something that was so painful, but yet we were not even accomplishing our goals. Like there was things within safety that we just couldn't do.
Yeah.
And every single day that went by, it was one thing that we were doing it and it was just reactive. There's things completely left out of the system.
I got a question for you. So had you had like a safety software platform or digital safety back then, would your pains and your struggles have been minimized?
I absolutely.
Significantly?
Significantly. And it's more, again, like it wasn't about having a software for certificate management or one for digital forms. There was software out there that did that. You could go and use Google Docs and create a digital form or whatever. There's thousands of them out there.
Yeah.
It was something that replicated the workflow of the industry, matched the hierarchies that were needed, because we all know safety is more than just a form. There's so much that happens after that.
Oh, yeah.
As a subcontractor, there was so much sharing of documentation between us and the prime contractor, from us to our subs back up to us, through us to the prime contractor.
Yeah.
There's so much stuff that needs to happen, and approvals within our company on forms that had to be done and everything like that.
Signatures. I mean, we haven't even spoke about safety concepts such as tracking and trending.
Yeah.
And analytics.
Analytics, exactly.
So, you've taken on all this paperwork and all this administration. Now you have to go through it.
And get the data out.
Yeah, exactly. And real time, not like a month or 6 months from now. You need to know what's going on and what's happening now.
There's so much information that you get out of the standard workflows that your company's already doing. When you find a platform that can replicate what you're doing already.
Yeah.
The relationship you have with your customers, or if you're the prime contractor with your sub-trades, the relationship that you have internally where people have to review and approve or share documents and forms back and forth, then the adoption goes up. You're not changing the forms, you're replicating those forms, you're replicating the workflow, and then the worker in the field, it was the most important part. So there's 80% of the industry is field, 20% is in the office roughly. When you start to get the field workers just to keep doing what they're doing, just make it easier for them, the data that comes in is unbelievable.
Absolutely.
And it makes that whole process you were talking about trending and predicting the future and being less reactive, more proactive, much, much easier. But that I found that's not it. It's more even than that. That's a part of the equation. What I found was the biggest problem we had was corrective actions. We could not manage corrective actions. We had a safety program in place, but every single time we do an inspection or a site inspection, or imagine an asset inspection, you identify something that's wrong. You're doing 25 of those a week. How often are you really tracking if those ever got repaired or who they were assigned to, right?
And how do you close that loop?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's did you experience that a lot in your safety world?
I
know you were deeper than I was, earlier than I was in the safety community.
Yeah, I did, especially when paperwork, having it lost, having it go missing, not having the right paperwork, corrective actions, especially like you would find a piece of paper with open corrective actions in a binder from like months ago.
Right.
And you're just kind of like, okay, what happened here?
It was a text message that went out, hey, do this.
Yeah.
That's what I I mean, it's not, some of the stuff I was doing wasn't safety, it was more a site inspection in whatever regard, but it's all relative. You identify an issue, it needs to get fixed.
Yeah,
it happens in the inspection, but the assignment is outside of the inspection. And so trying to go back, it might get fixed, but are you going back to that record, that safety record, and updating that record? So if you get audited in the future, you can prove that was closed because you've identified it. And then you just have holes in the system because legally they're just going to look at that historical data, right? Are you going to have to pull cell phone text messages saying, oh, wait, that one there, I texted to John. And John, I think, did it. I know he said he did it. Right?
That just sounds so painful.
Oh, it is. Incredibly painful.
Closing thoughts? Digital safety?
I don't know. First, how were we with it? Did we go on too many tangents?
I think we did good.
We did pretty good.
Yeah.
I hope people learned something there.
I know. Well, if they have questions, they can track us down on social media.
Social media, and I think, everyone should come to the booth. Booth number 8.
Yes, definitely.
We got a lot of professionals there. Our safety, our digital safety professionals, ready to answer any questions you want. We got prizes there. We're donating as well. Come and fill out a questionnaire we got, and we're going to donate money on your behalf. Lots of exciting things. Just come check it out. That's what I love about the virtual. You can come check it out. You don't even have to say hi. You don't have to say anything. Just stop on by. And then, and if you want, you can talk to us. We'll both be there.
Yeah. Looking forward to seeing you guys there.